Byond exists to define purpose through holistic mentoring. At Byond, we will assist you to achieve success, enjoy inner peace, and live your best life. Basically, we're here to inspire you to heal and transform. Byond umbrella consists of Byond Talk, Byond Virtual Learning Space, Byond Coaching and Mentoring Services, and Byond Online Shop. For more information, visit us at www.sandraturgot.com or contact us at byondonline@gmail.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Good evening, Aaron.
Welcome to Byond Talk, Walking with Purpose. How are you doing, Sandra?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you doing?
You good?
Well, we had a little bit of rough start.
You good, Sandra?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm doing well. Doing well for a Friday night. Nice.
Good stuff. So, are you going to introduce our little intro?
Excellent. I'm not sure if it's my internet or yours, but there seems to be a little a delayed reaction here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Yes. I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So, Excellent. So again, welcome to all our viewers. And this show was brought to you through Facebook, and it's brought to you courtesy of Dork TV and Radio. And we just want to give a thank you and shout out to the man behind the scenes. We know him as Chief, but his name is Yinka Farinde. And we want to thank you for this great job that you do in broadcasting us to the world. Today's session of Byond Talk is about, we're going to talk about healing, body, soul, and spirit. And we're pretty excited to be here today to have a conversation with you. And we encourage you to share the link with those in your circle, in your network, and get engaged. Send in your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along.
Yes, for real. Yeah. I'm a little bit so distracted because I didn't see the link pop up. You know how I can't multitask, right? So a little bit distracted here. All right.
Did you find it? Is it there?
It didn't pop up. But I'm looking at your white here popping up here.
Oh.
No barber, right? You can't see the barber.
No barber. No barber, but I'm loving it.
You're loving the pepper seed?
Oh, definitely.
That's actually good. It's a good thing. It's what it is, and we all have to work with it. I put some cornrow in my hair too because it's kind of looking a little bit
right
bad, So I cornrow it backwards just to make it look a little bit more fun. So we're gonna jump right in. And we're gonna introduce our guest, Odessa Thornhill. I think she's backstage somewhere. Hey, Odessa, how are you?
Hi, Odessa.
Great.
Good.
Welcome.
We're good.
Welcome to Byond Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Awesome.
All right, Odessa, you look beautiful, by the way. Red is your color.
Yes.
Is it red or burgundy? I'm kind of colorblind.
It's a fuchsia type of thing going
on. All right.
Nice.
It's beautiful. All right, Odessa. So we're gonna jump right in. I think Chief has the wrong flyer up. Okay, Babu. I don't know what's happening today. Don't
worry.
It's not.
We will prevail.
Friday. It's not kind of a Friday, but we will prevail. Odessa, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to ask, Aaron, did you have a question that you want to ask Odessa? Because I want to find the link.
For sure. Basically, again, just want to welcome you, Odessa, to Byond Talk. And we're talking about healing, body, soul, and spirit. But before we get into the conversation, I would just like for you to talk to our audience and let them know who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into the questions, the discussion.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Odessa. I call myself a women's reproductive and detox specialist. I'm also a soul therapist. So my primary concern is helping women with acute and chronic reproductive issues gain energy and vitality using natural medicine, herbs, food, energy work, body work, massage, all these different things. But a large piece of my work includes what I call soul therapy. And this is looking at healing from a multi-layered perspective. We talk about mind, emotions, spirit, and physical body. Well, when we include this in our paradigm, then we understand that healing and sickness begin on more than one level. It isn't just on the physical side. And so I walk clients through that process of learning, how to move beyond the illness and understand the gift and expand their awareness.
Wow.
Amazing.
Excellent. Soul therapy. This is a new term to me. Is that something that's been around for a long time? Is there many people practicing that here in the GTA?
Well, I think that many people will use the term mindfulness, and they'll associate it more with maybe the yoga movement. But the thing is that this kind of awareness has been around for a long time, as a matter of fact. In my studies, I'm still in school and studying to become a doctor of natural medicine. But when I do some research, this kind of work was actually included in medical doctor training about 300 to 400 years ago, but they took it out. Yeah, they took it out and they changed the paradigm for whatever reason. But understanding the body from a multi-layered perspective, it was a part of the medical paradigm.
Oh, wow. Isn't that something? Isn't that interesting?
A holistic approach.
Yes.
Excellent. You said something that that again piqued my interest. You talked about a gift. Can you talk some more about the gifting? Where's the gift in all of this?
I know. All right. Because people are like, it's raining and I have no umbrella. There's no gift here. So how this works is we come here, we're born, and we come with our challenges, we come with our gifts, we come with our talents, right? And everyone talks about this potential and this possibility that we can live in. Now, the thing about it is that we are creatures of habit. And so when we get into an alignment that works for us, we get comfortable. And sometimes stretching to the next limit, we don't want to move. We don't think we need to move. We don't, it's not time to move. And so this is where illness comes in, disease, discomfort, and challenges, because the tension is there to wake us up. The tension is there to get us to move. And so whereas personality and the ego, the aspect of ourselves that is interfacing with the world, that piece doesn't like to feel pain. It doesn't like to feel discomfort. And so it's going to perceive it as pain and discomfort. And, like, why is this happening to me? And things are not in alignment. But if you look at it, if you back up a little bit and you say, okay, what do I need here? What do I need to know here? And then it changes. So example, for someone who is dealing with a physical illness, many times the physical illness was existing in the mental, in the way that you were thinking. Maybe you were coming up against walls because your process of thinking was too small. You need to open up your mind. Maybe you were emotionally stuck. You're triggered with particular circumstances and people, and you just can't stand it, and you just get into a fix, right? And so based on what kind of illness it is and what area of the body it relates to, then it will begin to concretize itself and manifest within the physical body. Right. So yes, you'll go to the doctor and you'll say, okay, well, for example, let's say a woman has breast cancer, right? The woman is suffering with breast cancer. And so the doctor will go through their general experience, their general assessments and tests and all of that. But on another level, the breasts represent nourishment, right? And there's a level of boundaries, and what are you doing to nourish yourself? Are you surpassing boundaries? Are you giving without really considering how much you have to give? And so women, they say within this scope of practice that women who are suffering with breast cancer tend to be overgivers and not give for themselves, right? And so then you begin that process of saying, okay, so now it's painful, but I have to start being selfish.
Right.
That's my gift. That is the gift in it. I have to develop an aspect of myself, my soul awareness. I have to develop it. That's what my soul requires. Because if this illness didn't come, I will continue my life in this same pattern, wondering why, or wondering if, or wondering when.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's very interesting.
That is very interesting. Wow. So what would you tell our viewers about receiving this gift, if you may, and how to maneuver within this gift in a new normal, or quote unquote new normal, if you may, because if I'm ill, then it's not a fun place to be, right? There's going to be a sense of confusion. There's going to be some sadness. Of course, there's going to be some internal turmoil. So how does one understand that to be the body speaking, the mind, the spirit, sending messages through the body to you to receive and accept as a gift?
Such a beautifully big question.
Beautiful big question. Yes, I know.
So it always begins with awareness, right? Being aware of your circumstances and being aware of what's working and what is not working. Because that usually is very prominent when there's illness, right? Many times I'll ask a question to women who come to see me. Okay, another example, a woman came to see me and she had fibroids, and her fibroids were very problematic, and it was painful, and it was, all these different things. And I said to her, I said, well, when did you get your fibroids? When were you diagnosed? When did this problem come? And when she described it, and I said, well, what was happening around this time, right? And so we went into that. And so what was the gift of that? Like, what do you have to learn? What are you learning from this now, right? What does the soul require? Because, I remember once being told, if you're doing something and you trip and fall, you are probably thinking a negative thought. If you get into a car accident or something happens, there was probably a line of action that brought you to that point. So the first thing is awareness, right? And knowing that the physical body resonates within the energy of the person. It isn't the other way around. We tend to think of like ourselves as this physical being, and then there's this ambiguous spirit, this nebulous spirit that's in us, around us. We're not quite sure. But if you consider yourself from the opposite, you are spirit, you are layers, as far as you can expand your hand and even beyond, you are spirit, and the physical body resonates inside of that. So when you look at it from that perspective, we're saying, okay, the awareness, what do I need to learn from this illness? So the other aspect is, what area of the body is the illness happening? If you have liver problems, you might be dealing with issues of anger. It could be passive anger. It could be aggressive anger. It could be righteous anger. If you're dealing with issues from the throat, of the thyroid, it could be an issue with communication. You're not expressing yourself enough. You're not telling the truth. Some people lie and they don't even know they're lying. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, and they have to be caught. And sometimes that's how it manifests. So I would always say, to begin with awareness, you have to ask. You have to, really have that heart's desire and ask, what is the message here? And be open to hear, because the other piece of the puzzle is you may have been avoiding the issue.
Right.
If you are avoiding the issue, it has arrived here now. It is here now for you to deal with. And whereas you think that you're fighting a lump, you think that you're fighting your weight, you think that you're fighting, whatever it is, a migraine, but you're actually looking at things from another level. So the question is, what do I need to learn here? Every lesson is a gift. Every lesson may not be, it may not come easily, it may not be desirable for you as a personality, but the soul doesn't know good or bad. The soul knows expansion and evolution and progress. This is why we're constantly searching for things beyond what we know.
Right. This is why we seek to. Go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead.
So this mindset is not with the everyday person, and I like what you're talking about. But, for the 21-year-old, or younger or older, who's just not aware, and something they could have a sickness, or they could have gone through a traumatic event. At that point in time, they're not thinking to ask those certain questions, at least not right away. And I mean, I agree with exactly what you're saying, but from my own personal experience, it was an unfolding. Right. Because, the event happens, you're not thinking, wow, this is here for my awareness. And I should ask myself these questions. I mean, I love it. But from a practical standpoint, there's a learning that has to take place. And most of us, initially are not even thinking about spirit and that aspect of life, because most of our life right now, growing up anyways, it's all externally focused. We're not really focused on the inner being, so based on your experience, would you say there's a time frame between the time something happens till the time people wake up to realize what's going on, and that they have to channel this into a particular direction?
It's when you are ready. It's always about when you're ready, because the messages always come to you, right? The messages will come to you via people speaking to you, via experiences, via dreams sometimes, you know what I mean? And the thing is, if you are ready to receive, right, then the unfolding can begin. Right. That's usually that's how I approach it. If you're really like, why is this happening to me? And if you really want to know, the answers will come. They may not come as you want them. So you have to be accepting and ready, and that's the thing. Like, not everybody is ready to heal.
Right.
Or not everybody knows they need to heal. Somebody, I just want to say hi to our viewers out there. I just see something pop up on Michelle. Michelle asked, I think it's a comment. She said, when you're in it, it's hard to focus on the inner being. And she's so correct, because like I said before, when you're in pain and when you're in confusion and when you're in a place of darkness, it's hard to focus. But what I would say, that's the time. I believe that's at the time when focus is coming. That's the time when you've been pushed within yourself. But a lot of us are too afraid of ourselves, so we don't want to go there. But I know that in my darkest days is when I was pushed within. I was pushed to go to a deeper place, because nothing outside of myself was serving me. Everything outside of myself was so painful. So I had to go in, and this is where I call going into the spirit, sitting at the seat of the soul. And that's where you start feeling renewed and content. And you're like, wow, this is good. It's a good place to go. It's a good place to be inside yourself. And people will ask you, they will say, wait, you are going through this, and how come you're so relaxed? It's because you go in, and when you go in, you no longer have to do the work, right? Would you agree? It's almost like this force that is bigger and mightier than yourself start to do the work through you, and you begin to heal, and your countenance changed, and everything just changed about you. Yeah. You say?
I would agree. What you both touched on something that was really interesting, that I wanted to say, because Aaron, you said, not being inner focused. And it's interesting because as we're brought up, as we're raised, especially within our community, many are baptized as Christian. And the way that we are introduced to spirituality, it requires that we look to the external source rather than going inside first. So we're trained. Okay. Now, personally, I think it was done this way because of slavery. Right? Because if you take away the power of an individual, they will not know what their power is. Right? So that's the first thing. So then we begin looking for the external source of God or however you interpret that to be. And you're looking there and you're saying, well, why is this happening to me? And you're expecting some kind of answer. So the idea is exactly like you said, Sandra. It forces you to go inside, right? And the person has to be willing and ready to go inside.
Gotta be.
Right.
Yes.
And some people happen upon it naturally. Some people have coerced into it, and some people don't ever get that chance.
Yeah. So let's take a pin there. I like when you say some people don't ever get a chance. And this is why we're having the conversation, because if you don't know a thing, you can't do a thing. And because a lot of us were so conditioned to think a certain way and to ask your mama for help and to ask your auntie for help and to ask your pastor for help and somebody help me, and then you realize that no one is helping you, because really and truly it is you and your creator and the creative energy that's in you and the creative life that is in you is going to help you. So I think I answered the question I want to ask you, but I'm asking you a question and answering at the same time. To my bad, but I want you to talk to the people who are not yet aware of the self, who are not yet aware enough to understand that we're spiritual beings first. We're having a human experience, and everything that's happening to us in the humanness of ourselves is coming from a deeper place, and that we need to connect with. Can you?
Oh my. You ask such eloquently layered questions.
I know I'm passionate about this stuff because I know that it's needed for us, and we have to make a turn, and it's so needed, and this is how we're going to make the turn.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is a muscle that you're building, right? And I see the comments, it's hard to go inside when you're in trouble. And it's true, but that's the muscle that you have to build, right? This is the strength within yourself that you have to build. So knowing, like Sandra, you and I had a conversation about alignment and crises and reevaluation and revelation and integration, right? This is the process that we go through whenever there's illness. And so I would say that the first piece is trusting your intuition. That's the first piece, because there's the awareness that there's something more, and then there's trusting what's coming your way, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, push it to the side. Well, that's nothing, right? Just like we'll push the pain to the side, and then all of a sudden you're bent over on the ground and have to go to the hospital.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there's being aware of what's happening and accepting what's happening and saying, okay, so there's more to it that's coming along, and I have to learn. I have to be open to receive the information. What does God want to say to me? What is the message that is coming to me? And you have to ask yourself. You have to start training yourself. Without going too deeply into it. It's a muscle. You know what I mean? And so what we would say is the soul, like you're raising your vibration to soul. That's what you're doing. Soul doesn't come down to you. You have to raise your vibration. So you have to ask the questions. You have to trust the unknown, right? You have to be okay with knowing that your paradigm, your what you know is going to shift and change, right? There's no easier way, I think, for a person to do it. It's because it comes naturally. Like we said, some people don't heal because they don't follow their intuition. Now, what happens is when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's the other piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Information to you. The information will come to you via post, via text, via phone call, via video. But if you are ignoring this because you want to push it away and you want to deal with it in the way that you normally do, and you're not accepting the messages, right? We talk about these, I was, there was a flood and I was on the roof and I was praying to God and I was waiting for God to send me help. And, God sent me help in all these different ways. And I said, well, and then I died and I got there and I said, God, why didn't you help me? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. If you have in your mind, well, maybe I shouldn't be thinking like this. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this situation isn't healthy for me. Maybe all of that, that is the inclination. That is the soul urging.
That is it. That is it. That is it. That is it. Oliver said, "Hi, Oliver. Thank you for watching and commenting. We love it." He said, "Muscles and neural pathways need to be built." That means mentally. And when we, and I know when we say muscle, we're talking about spiritual muscle. We're talking about that kind of muscle, not the six-pack muscle, right? But the spiritual muscle needs to be built, and mentally there has to be a shift, a neural pathway. I think that's what he's saying. And Michelle said, "How do you learn to trust your feelings and know the difference?" It's a question. How do you learn to trust your feelings and know the difference between a response to your experiences versus the Holy Spirit speaking to you?
So this is a very beautiful question. Thank you so much for asking.
It is.
Michelle. Because you have to understand that the Holy Spirit dwells within you, and the Holy Spirit speaks to you with your own voice as well.
Yes.
Right?
Always.
And that's where that trust comes in, because you're expecting it to look a particular way.
Yes.
And the only thing that's constant is change, and your ability to receive the information and perceive it and process it and get answers from it. It's going to evolve and it's going to change. You have to trust and not be afraid, because every person is unique. We are made in the image and the likeness thereof, but every single person manifests differently. We all have the same elements inside of us. We all have the same minerals, the same amount of bones, give or take, muscles, tissue, all of that. It's there, right? But how you process what your paradigm is and how you receive information, right? You have to trust that. That's really what it is. You have to trust. We talk about this mustard seed. We talk about having faith to move a mountain.
Yes.
And it starts with that, right? It starts with, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what this message is, but it's here. And what is it? That's what it is. Yeah. I hope this answers.
I think you're right, and I think it's kind of going back to being like a child. A child trusts. A child doesn't have all the questions, and they just trust. If a child loves you, a child trusts you.
They will off of a roof.
Exactly. If you said jump, they will jump, right? And I think that's what we're supposed to be to our Creator. Our Creator made us. God made us. We're powerful beings. We're powerful created beings. But experiences, when we were little children, we were trusting, and then experiences start happening, and the hurt and the pain, and then we develop this sense of mistrust, and we stop believing in ourselves. Remember when you were little and you envision everything, and you imagine everything, and you said you're going to be that and be that, and all of a sudden people start telling you can't be that, or you can't go there, and you stop believing in yourself. So I think the conversation that we're having is taking a turn back, is to say, how do we get back to that childlike mentality, trusting our source, trusting our Creator, so that we can be the best of ourselves? How can we get back there? How can we undo what is already done to us?
Right.
Build new muscles, build new neurons or neural pathways.
Yes.
Like Oliver said, and get back to our true authentic self. I know it's a lot I just said, but what would you tell our listeners how they can go back to that authentic self, how they can strip off the conditioning, how they can strip off stop listening to the voices, and go back to that authentic self where they start listening to themselves, their intuition?
Oh my goodness. It's very, and I know that we've also had this conversation before too. A lot of times, especially because of how we are raised, we are taught not to trust anything else that is outside of what is given to us within religious
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this makes us, you know, this really puts a cloud and a shroud over us. And I'm not telling anyone to, you know, to bust out and do anything different. No, right? But
bust out. We're telling them bust out.
I mean, however it's gonna look for anybody, right? But the main thing is, your question was, how can they go back and how can they trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's by fervently asking that question. For me, it comes back down to that. Like, we can go through the exercises, you know, we can do the journaling. We can, you know, do the journaling to find out and you know, well, what happened here and what happened there and how did I respond to that and just kind of follow the line of events. I'm sorry, my son has arrived here and he's not supposed to be here.
That's okay, don't worry about it.
He's the beauty about being live.
Hey, son. It's okay.
But it starts off with that and really giving yourself, going into the heart. Yes. Right? Going into the heart and looking at those areas of challenges, giving yourself permission to look at those areas of challenges, because, you know, with the awareness comes the truth.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so a person has to be willing to accept the whole truth about who they are. Because a lot of us, like I said, some of us don't even know that we're lying. We call it something else.
Oh boy.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of us don't even know that we're carrying around or we're responding to circumstances because of traumatic experiences.
Yes, yes.
Right? Yes. So by being aware of, and I like to tell people to take inventory, take stock of where you are. You know, like how do you feel about this area of your life, that area of your, like, go through, like really start combing through. You don't like to go in this corner, why not? Or you're always here because you may be avoiding here, right? So when you start to look at that, I like to talk about like creating a contour, like as if you have a canvas in front of you, or if you have like a flat surface in front of you. And even though you're drawing on it, then you start to pick up the pieces, right? And so then you begin to have contour, and you can look around it, you can look behind it, you can look above it. And so by doing that, this creates more, not necessarily a pastiche, but it gives you more stuff to work with, more texture to work with. Am I answering your question?
You are answering my question. And some people are chiming in and saying it takes courage to like, on top of what you're saying, it takes courage to face the truth, the good, bad, and the ugly. It takes courage. And Oliver said experience is key, because we were taught to just drink the Kool-Aid. So it's really, so remember we had this conversation. It's really hard to undo some of the things that we were taught and some of the things that are now cemented in our minds. But it's doable. It's hard, but it's doable. And like we started saying, you have to be willing to do the work. I say to people, healing work or being healthy, being well is hard work. Because it just means that you're going to have to cut some things off. You're going to have to cut some people off. You're going to have to stop the blame. You're going to have to hone the crap. You're going to have to look inside of yourself. You're going to have to tell the truth about what's going on. You got to be blatantly honest. And as Michelle said, it takes courage. Some things that I didn't want to man up to, I had to look myself in the mirror and say, look, girl, you're a hot mess. This is your issue, nobody else's issue. So stop it. And one of my go-to word is stop it now. Stop it. And every time you feel like something is coming up inside of you that you want to give to somebody else, stop it. Take a look, go to the mirror, take a hard look. Because it's huge. Everything that we're trying to pawn off to somebody else is happening inside of us, to us, for a reason, right? So absolutely. I think that's what it is, and the sooner we know this, the sooner we can start making some really drastic changes in our lives, right?
Absolutely. And Sandra, I would also I would also say that until you are aware, until you awaken, you know, you got programmed. You didn't have a choice in the program. It's not your fault. At this point, it's not your fault.
Yes.
But the awakening, you know, the awakening, the desire to heal, the desire to change, right, will get you on the path. But it's so important to heal, because you talk about raising the vibration. You know, you're going to have a tug of war if you're still wounded and trying to raise the vibration, because you still have that negative mindset, that negative program, those judgments, the fear, right? You know, and people have that saying, you know, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, right? It's because, and if even just that thought alone, right, reoccurs every time. You'll find every time you find yourself in a new situation, right, something happens, because number one, you're expecting it. That's a habit, a habitual way of thinking, and you're making it a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you got to change that and realize the role that you are playing in your experiences, right? And then be intentional in your thoughts and your thinking, and remove fear. You know, we are spirit. We're here having a human experience, but we're spiritual beings. We're creating our experiences. Our life gets better as we get better in our thinking, and our connection to our true essence. You know, but it's so important to heal it. You know, that's my cry, man. We gotta heal our heart, heal our wounds, because the spirit is, you can't hurt the spirit. The spirit is just out there. You know, it's just this, us in this dimension is the hurt that keeps us down at a low vibrations. We got to let go of that, get detached from that, and get connected to our higher self, and that'll lead us to higher, more elevated experiences.
You all are just, you're gonna take it somewhere. We're just gonna go. We're gonna start flying, because there's so much in there. There's so much in there. So important, you know, all of the pieces, and specifically for us as a collective, as a people, we have a lot of problems that we're carrying as a group. You know what I mean? Like we're stuck. We're like, and don't get me wrong, we're moving ahead.
We are.
We're moving. But it takes a lot of work. People have to understand, you know, like they'll see something, or they'll see someone and hear the story about how this person healed themselves. Oh my gosh, they did it and it was good. And like you said, they don't know about the sweat and the tears and the crying and the negative thoughts and the repetitive, you know, go falling back into it and knowing that you didn't do the work. They don't recognize that. But as a collective, right, this is something that I think have to start coming into, you know what I mean, and really, you know, looking at, okay, how can we raise together? How can I, you know, send that vibration to the other person? How can I get this person on the same wavelength? What I would say is, so like example, yesterday, so Sandra, you know that I've been hosting a meditation.
Don't talk about that. Don't tell me.
Well, so we've been hosting this meditation, and we were focusing on the elements, right? We're focusing on the elements, and not yet, baby, not yet. And how the elements show up in our lives, right? And yesterday we were talking about the element of fire, right? And the element of fire shows up as heat. It shows up as how things are transformed, created, and destructed. Not yet.
Yes.
Okay. How they're transformed.
You want to join us?
Huh? He wants to.
You want to join us? Yeah. He wants to go outside.
Fire has been misused by humanity, right?
Yeah.
But in the form of guns, of killings. And I had made a call for people to join my the meditation to be able to start uniting and transferring the energy. And when we're talking about negative use, I brought back to the minds of people, and I was like, well, let us look at how the misuse of fire, because we're talking about shootings that had recently happened, right? And what did we do? And so when we're looking at that, we say, okay, well, how do I misuse fire? How do I misuse knowledge? How do I misuse that transformative and destructive power that in me? And how do I unite that within me? And how can I affect the people around me? How can I honor this element of fire, right? Because it is being misused. So that's one way of doing that. That's one way of me consciously saying, okay, so my misuse of this information contributes to the collective misuse of it. I don't know if that's making sense, but that's one way of working through it. It's a bit more advanced, when you're going into meditation, but looking at water, how you use water, how we as a collective use water, how we use air, how we use earth, just kind of bringing it all together again really changes that dynamic, right? And your personal use with it, which helps to transform your own substance.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I think what you're saying too, I would add that in terms of the collective, as our vibration, as people elevate their vibration, it affects, X amount of people within their frequency, and that will just mushroom, right?
That's
to the whole collective.
If your work is authentic and transparent, because some people, we have to be careful, because some people are saying that they're doing the work, but they're only they're just dabbling in the water. Like a child, you put in the water and they think they're drowning, but they're not. They think they're swimming, but they're not. You know what I mean? When you're engaging in the work, when you know that you're, engaging and changing the integrity of your cells, the integrity of your matter, and that's when that's right. You affect the people around you just by being you, not by trying to do anything to them, but by being more of yourself.
Wow, wow, that is so powerful. I missed some of it. Did you hear my dogs barking? somebody came to my door. I'm sorry. It's real life here. We're in our homes, and sometimes it's hard to control everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was Maya and Charlie. Say hi to them. They're cute.
Nice.
And so and I missed some of what you guys were saying, but I wanted to ask you a question, Odessa. We have 10 minutes. I want to ask you a question about the isolation just want to touch on the isolation that we all are going through, and how some people are feeling overwhelmed and some people are feeling bored. People are having all sort of emotions, anxiety. Some people are feeling depressed, just want things to get back to normal. And I know we started out talking about a gift. So that's why I wanted to bring this up, a gift. Things happen in your lives. They are gifts. But many times we miss it, right? And we know outside look dreary and it doesn't look normal like we know it to be, but there's a gift in it. And you and I kind of share that. So talk to us about the gift in this season, the gift that there could be.
Yeah. So what I would start off by saying that everyone is experiencing an elevation in their mind and in their experiences of spirit. Every person, every single person. You can deny it if you want, but it has been written about. This time has been written about. It has been prophesied, and we're here now. And we didn't know how it was going to show up. And a part of that is us as beings being forced to connect to ourselves and the people in our environment, our immediate environment more. So that's the first thing. And by connecting on this level, right, it is allowing our hearts to open up more. And it is allowing for us to be more present. Now, people are like, let me out. Yes, because you don't know how to use space inside, right? And so by slowing down, giving yourself permission and asking, you have to train yourself. That's what it is. What is it here now? You know what I mean? How can I work on one pointed focus? Right? How can I develop a deeper breathing practice? right? How can I start working on my visualization, right? What are these things that I've said I wanted to do that I haven't had a chance to do? Like, I know for me, just before this hit, I swear to you, a week before, I was like, I need a break. I need a break from getting up in the morning. I need a break from bringing children to school. Yeah, and when it happened, I was like, no.
I got a break. I got a break.
Be careful what you ask for, eh?
Honestly, be careful of what you're asking for, you know. But I asked for it, and now it's here, and then it's like, oh no, I'm bored. I want to go out. I want to. So it's like, you know, we always say this when you're praying, because if you pray for strength, you're gonna have difficult situations come.
Right.
If you're praying and you're praying for patience, things are going to come to try your patience, right? So now that we're here in quarantine, really, this is the time. Do all of these things, the difficult things that you've been wanting to do, the things that you've been wanting to research, those people and places that you've been wanting to connect to, the questions that you've been looking for the answers, that you've been searching answers for. This is the exact time, because, right? And I'll tell you, I mean, without going too deep into it, what's happening on the outside is happening because people are not able to connect on the inside.
Right.
A lot of what's happening out there, we've got, you know, all these things, Bill Gates and COVID, all these things, all these movements that are happening, right? The reason, part of the reason why it's happening is because people are not connecting on the inside and not connecting as a collective and moving as a collective.
Yes,
right?
yes.
We're disjointed, so it's forcing us to connect.
Right.
And by to connect, you have to go inside, and by doing that, you cannot be afraid of what you will find.
And I think Odessa, you're so right. And I think without people actually realizing that they're going inside, they actually are going inside, because people are a lot. It's kind of like we're forced to go inside, and people are a lot kinder. I find that people want to give more. People are asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I think it's a great sign that people are not just running, being in your car, get me a cup of coffee, let me get to A, B, C, D, and not thinking about anybody else. So as you talk about connection, it's forcing people to connect with themselves, to connect with God, to connect with the people you never talk to that live in your house, because now everybody's inside. I am forming a new bond and connection with my daughter, with my mother, which I think is amazing, because we hardly see each other when things were quote unquote normal, right? So I kind of like this not so normal, because it's building and developing better relationships, and I think that's what we were born to do, to connect.
This is it.
Connect.
It's getting us into the heart. It's getting us into the energy of the heart is connectivity. And what I want to say, just the heart is, for me, it's the great equalizer. You know what I mean? It is the great equalizer. If you go in from the heart, that is the truth of everything. And when you go higher into your sense perceptions from the heart, you can do no harm, right? And people are stuck. If we go into, like, you know, the metaphysical teachings, or go into the anatomy of the spirit, and we talk about the chakras, I mean, most people are stuck in the third dimension, you know, the solar plexus, and very much about the personality and the I and the me and the I and what I have to do, and a selfish will. But when you go into the heart, you go into that connectivity. You connect to the green of nature, you connect to the expansiveness of what love is, right? And so that's what this is forcing us to do in micro ways.
Wow.
I totally agree. Beautiful. But Aaron, I think we're almost out of time. But
we're almost out of time. I definitely agree. There's something about adversity, you know, that brings us together. I remember in 2004, I believe, when we had the blackout. You know, people would make discoveries, you know, with their neighbors sitting on their porch and coming together. I know this COVID is a different scenario, but I think it's even probably more. There's more awareness now, and more of a realization that we have to go within. You know, and I think maybe I can say personally, because of where I am in my life, I can really see the benefit in having this time to really go within and ensure that you're healed, you're cleansed, you know, in terms of all the negative mindset, the negative traumas that you've been carrying around with you. It's time to get rid of that, connect with your heart. And like Odessa says, just get to a higher level and get to that heart chakra and beyond, right? Where you can really make a difference and to your family and to your community and to the world. Because as we all rise, as the individual rise, they bring others around them, around with them. And this is what we need to do. We need to connect with the spirit and focus on that. Make that be a focus. Forget about what's going on out there. Nothing we can do to stop the people that are doing what they're doing. We just need to focus on ourselves. And I think as we strengthen the spirit, as we strengthen the vibration on this planet, everything will take care of itself. So we have no worries. Don't send out worries into the universe. Don't think about negative. Just focus on you and healing yourself and connecting to your spirit. And as you do that, others around you will be, through an example, will be healed, will be connected in the same way and higher vibrations and be a different world.
The one last thing I say to just kind of to add into that would just be when to accept the bad things as they come and not to judge them. And that's a difficult piece of the puzzle as well too, because we're going to judge it. Right. And when you don't judge it and you hold it as just an experience you have to go through, right, then this creates more of that heart space and more of that connectivity space for you to get the lesson. Because as soon as you say, why is this happening? And these things are, but I don't want to deal with them. Then you're not going to get the lesson. And the lesson is a gift.
Right.
Wow. And I actually had the same thought as you. So this is amazing. And I actually wrote it down because I wanted to end with it. And it says, your soul is in a good place when the circumstances remain the same, but your response evolves. Your response evolves into a place of contentment. So the circumstances didn't change, but your response evolved into a place of contentment. So there's no judgment. You're content with it because you know that it's a part of the journey. You're going through it. You're not lying in it. You're not sleeping in it. You're going through it. So the moment you understand that, you know that your soul, healthy spirit, healthy body. 100% healthy world. 100% healthy, but it's to get there. So I think what I would say to our viewers is work at it. It's not easy, but it's your life work. You spend 20 years working for a company and then they give you a pink slip. Some people spend 35 years and then retire and die. But if you spend 35 years working on yourself, it's worth it.
Well,
it's 100% worth it. Every day you get up and you say, my first work is on myself. I'm gonna work on myself so that I'm better equipped to serve others, right?
And life will make way.
Exactly.
That's the other piece of the puzzle. People will be like, yeah, but I don't like my job. I don't like what I'm doing. When you work on yourself, when you do that work, when you commit to that, and you hold that space, life, God, spirit, the universe, whatever, it will align everything for you. It will align.
Because God has already done it. I know we say God, spirit, universe. I say God. I just have one name, and it's God for me. But God has already done it for us. Really, it's for us to catch up with it. This amazingness, this vastness of this amazing. I sound like Donald Trump. Amazingness of this. If we only know how amazing. This is that the provision that God has already made for us. It's really for us to tap into that provision and start accessing it without fear, without doubt, without reservation. Just start accessing it. It's enough for every single one of us, everything that He has provided. And I believe if we know that, we're on a good path. So I feel like I have the last word, but we're gonna
really.
I feel like I have the last word right now because we're gonna say goodnight to our viewers. Thank you, thank you.
Before we go, Sandra.
Yes.
Odessa, really enjoyed the conversation. Soul therapy. This is pretty phenomenal. How can people reach you to explore and to find out more about this?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram. Cultivate Your Own Wellness are my handles. You can message me there. You can email me o.thornhill, or let's go simple, info@cultivateyourown.com. My website is under construction right now, so I don't usually send people there, but I'm very active on these social media platforms. So Cultivate Your Own Wellness is my Facebook and my Instagram pages.
Perfect.
Good night,
you can
everybody.
Also type that into a message.
Yeah, please, underneath, type it in the message so people can see it. Good night, everybody. It was an amazing conversation. Night, we'll definitely have you back, Odessa. We love it.
Awesome.
Meet us next week. Don't go. Meet us in the back room. Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Right, good night, everybody.
Night.
Byond exists to define purpose through holistic mentoring. At Byond, we will assist you to achieve success, enjoy inner peace, and live your best life. Basically, we're here to inspire you to heal and transform. Byond umbrella consists of Byond Talk, Byond Virtual Learning Space, Byond Coaching and Mentoring Services, and Byond Online Shop. For more information, visit us at www.sandraturgot.com or contact us at byondonline@gmail.com.
Dak TV.